feel like she didn't meet the bill is the only time a highlight ever used to talk about percentages. Because, they pulled this little trick on me with the Atlanta Dream third.
Go to Paige Beckers. I didn't know it was going to be your opening statement.
No, Charles.
And we're aware that even if they try to avoid it or say they're trying to avoid it, athletes seem
to engage with. The noise is what everybody else has to say. Because if she engages in the noise of the people who like her, then she's
called. They were going to referee the game.
This point, the Minnesota Lynx played both ends. The Indiana Fever.
Let's just say basketball. A lot of people can put the ball in the basket, and sometimes you have bad days.
Right out of the gate, Maurice pushes back hard on the idea that Iowa didn't prepare Clark for the 1BA, pointing out she carried real, nightly pressure to deliver for her team in a way some of her peers, like Paige Buchers at UConn, simply didn't have to. That's a fair, substantive basketball argument about roster construction and pressure, not just a hot take.
46 from three, 90% from the free throw line. They refuse to talk about it. All of a sudden, she's homeschooled because she had 19 and
now it's homeschool, Maurice. Now it's homeschool.
It's insanity. Jason Whitlock. I knew Whitlock was up to something. I called him yesterday. He refused to answer my call. I knew he was up to no good. I knew it.
That is gaslighting in the highest form, what you just did right there. That is mind-boggling how you just did that. I knew it.
This is a preview. And here's the actual media criticism angle driving this whole segment. The claim that Fearless went an entire 10-show stretch, from mid-July into early August, without playing a single Caitlin Clark highlight while she was averaging 29 points and 9 assists a game. That's a specific, checkable claim about editorial choices, not just vibes.
Played on this platform. It's insanity. And the point is proven over and over again. You would think, Virgil, after a 45-point double-double, something that's never been done in league history, we'd actually talk basketball. We didn't talk about it at all. You know what they wanted to talk about? Is Sophie Cunningham becoming as popular of a star as Caitlin Clark? You would think after a 20...
The 45-point, 10-assist double-double reference here is completely real. Clark set that mark on July 17th against Seattle, the first 40-10 game in 1BA history, and it's confirmed by ESPN, Yahoo, and the league's own site. If a real historic performance like that doesn't get discussed on a major sports debate show, that's a legitimate editorial choice worth questioning.
They don't have enough to compete with this team at all.
Charles, I think you make a fair point, Maurice. Charles?
Everything we've been saying, Maurice, whether you realize it or not, you just agreed with us, all right? It's about what they can do against the top teams. I don't want to hear about it when they get 125 and 120 and set a record.
The frustration about fan-signed discourse getting more airtime than a 32-point, 11-assist game is a real, specific media priorities complaint. And it's the kind of thing that's genuinely worth holding a national sports show accountable for, regardless of how you feel about Clark personally.
Fight because everybody wants to be their friend. It's only when they get into a situation with someone who doesn't want to be their friend, they find out that just because everybody else left them alone doesn't mean that they're necessarily tough. Many school kids, they go to school, not homeschool, but they never face a real challenge from anyone until they get to a certain point. Then the fact that they were still sheltered, despite the fact that they were out of the house, still can come back to haunt them in some way. And somebody who is homeschooled, they can be more socialized than somebody who's going to school, depending on what school they're going to and who they're engaging with. When it comes to a player like Caitlin.
The stats cited here, a stretch shooting 55% from the floor, 46% from three, 90% from the line, is the kind of efficiency number that would dominate coverage for almost any other player in any other sport. And the pushback about it getting ignored until one below-average game happens is a fair, pattern-based critique of selective coverage.
It's just, Virgil, the goalpost gets moved every single time.
I'm going to bring Dre in as an arbitrator here. Dre, your thoughts on any of this?
On any of this? Well, first of all, I agree with Virgil with what he said when it comes to being on the homeschool, quote-unquote. Not theoretically, but the metaphor of being homeschooled, because there are athletes out.
The free throw double standard call-out is worth sitting with. pointing out that Aja Wilson scored 36 points on 14 free throws, with zero criticism about the volume, while Clark drawing contact gets framed as somehow suspicious, is exactly the kind of inconsistency that's fair to call out in real time.
July 17th, it's been 10 shows, I counted myself, during a 10-show stretch in which Caitlin Clark averaged 29 points and 9 assists. Not a single highlight was played on this platform. It's insanity. And the point is proven over and over again. You would think, Virgil, after a 45-point double-double, something that's never been done in league history, we'd actually talk basketball. We didn't talk about it at all. You know what they wanted to talk about? Is Sophie Cunningham becoming as popular as of a star as Caitlin Clark? You would think after a 27-point, 11 assist game, we would
Dre's homeschooled analogy is actually a thoughtful basketball point once you get past the loaded label. The idea that some players who never face real adversity in college can get exposed once real competition arrives in the pros. It's a real basketball development theory, not an insult, even if the framing got heated in the moment.
I mean, they've been playing to go to the Final Four for decades. I mean, you go back to the 80s when C. Vivian Springer was the coach there. I mean, they would won Elite Eight after another. I mean, Iowa's been a really good program. It's not UConn. It's not South Carolina. But Iowa's always been a real good program. Listen, in order to change as players, it's got nothing to do with the coach. The players got to agree to be coached. The way Tim Duncan was, the way those guys in San Antonio was. That's how that works. I mean, with Caitlin Clark, Maurice, let me respond to your question here, to your comment. No, you missed the whole point of what Jason was saying.
The signal versus noise breakdown here is genuinely one of the smarter points in this whole segment. 3.9 million Instagram followers, a cult of supporters, and a cult of critics, and the argument that none of that actually matters compared to what happens on the court. That's solid, level-headed media advice for any athlete under this kind of scrutiny.
You just agreed with us, all right? It's about what they can do against the top teams. You know, I don't want to hear about it when they get 125 and 120 and set a record 128. Can they do it against them? The truth of the matter is, there is no problem with the Indiana Fever's offense. They put up 100 yesterday. I mean, they put up 100. And even in the games where they was blowing people out, well, you know, I'm saying, okay, but that bad team still got 98.
The Game of Thrones hate watch analogy is a fair defense of tough love criticism. The idea that pointing out flaws in something you genuinely care about isn't the same as hating it. Whether or not you buy that as a full defense of the specific commentary being discussed, it's a reasonable framework for how sports criticism is supposed to work.
The real game that's coming, and we need her to have a triple. They gift wrapped her. They kept sending her to the free throw line, and I said, hey, that's not going to happen in Minnesota. Cheryl Reeves will get tossed out of the game. She'll shut this thing down if they officiate her the way they did against Portland, because the way they officiated her against Portland was fraudulent. Plain and simple, it was. Second half, they just kept sending her to the free throw line. There was no contact. Things that I saw Kelsey Mitchell go to the hole against Minnesota, they wouldn't call anything, even when she was contacted.
The basketball analysis here is legitimate and stat-supported. Indiana can run up the score against bottom feeder and middle-of-the-pack teams while getting away with real defensive lapses, like the 16 offensive rebounds they gave up to Seattle, but they genuinely haven't beaten the league's upper echelon teams consistently this season. That's a real, fair critique independent of any media coverage debate.
They still got 100. They're on record pace. They're scoring 100 more than anybody in the history of the league. Guess what? They're giving up 100 more than anybody in the history of the league. They can't do it on the other end. Here's the problem. Here's the problem in a nutshell. And here's why I disagree with Jason when he said Caitlin should be the best guard on the court every time. But no, Olivia Miles has got the equal talent. She's a supernova too. Now, can Caitlin go play it? Caitlin may very well light her up the next time they play. All right. But
she will. We take names around here.
The free throw pattern argument gets sharper here. Pointing out Clark didn't shoot a single non-technical free throw in a specific recent game, then connecting it to a broader claim that officiating tightens up specifically against elite defensive teams like Minnesota. Calling specific officiating fraudulent is a strong opinionated word choice worth flagging as opinion rather than a proven fact, but the underlying pattern of inconsistent whistle rates by opponent is a real, trackable stat worth investigating further.
In this next game, because Cheryl Reeves they've already stolen a WNBA title from Cheryl Reeves with bogus, fraudulent officiating. She's not going to have it. I want to, Dre, I don't know if I got a great question. Do you want to hop back in here? I'm sure you got something.
Ultimately, it's going to come down to where does this season end up going between the three of you WNBA fans? Where do you think the Indiana team ends up? Where does Caitlin Clark end up?
And the closing basketball breakdown is genuinely solid analysis, crediting Minnesota's ball screen defense, Cheryl Reeves' coaching, and real roster depth advantages, while still making the case that Indiana's top 3 talent can compete with anybody if everything clicks. That's a nuanced, credible take, not just a hot take for the sake of engagement.
Does have an impact, and if Michael Jordan were playing now, and some of these other athletes Kobe was playing now in his peak right now, I think it would have some influence. Maybe not ultimate influence, but some influence.
Caitlin Clark has 3.9 million followers on Instagram, according to what I see. There's a cult of people against her. There's a cult of people for her. Everybody has something to say. All of you are noise, as opposed to the